I was shocked to discover my wife as the empress could only crouch in a corner with our son to eat, while my father-in-law, the prime minister, sat proudly at the main seat, watching my son casually tell me to squat and eat. A fire of rage instantly ignited in my chest. I immediately questioned them. Why weren't my wife and child allowed to eat at the table? But then my wife's stepmother sneered and said, my wife had a child with a stranger. Not kicking them out of the house was already a mercy. Someone like her deserved to eat on the ground like a dog. But what they didn't know was that the so-called stranger was actually me, because 6 years ago, while I was traveling in disguise, I suddenly felt dizzy, only to learn my mother had secretly drugged me before I left the palace to force me to choose a consort. By the time the drug took effect, the attendants had already slipped away. At the same time, my wife also felt dizzy and disoriented. It turned out her stepmother had also drugged her to drive her out of the house, while the maid went to find an antidote. We met on the street in our dazed state, and we became each other's cure. I never expected she would become pregnant with my child. 6 years passed. She was shunned by her family for having a child out of wedlock. She and our 6-year-old son became the lowest servants. Even the other servants bullied them freely. That day was her father's 60th birthday. Her stepmother sent her to fetch wine, and that place was where we had first met. Meanwhile, I had never stopped searching for her. I visited that inn every year, hoping to reunite, until that day. I finally saw her again. But what I got in return was a loud slap. With teary eyes, she accused me of abandoning her after she had a child. Only then did I realize she had given birth to my son, thinking of her raising the child alone. My heart ached so much I could barely breathe, so I immediately confessed my identity to her. I was the emperor, and I wished to take her back to the palace as my empress, but she thought I was making excuses to escape. She rushed to stop me. Our son held me tightly, crying that he had been mocked all these years for not having a father. Then my wife poured out all the bitterness from the past years. She told me that if no one married her, she would be stuck in this house suffering for the rest of her life. Now all she wanted was for me to take her away. She was even willing to support me. After saying that, she pulled me back home. Seeing this, I quickly sent my men to report to my mother at the palace, telling her to prepare the betrothal gifts. Soon, my wife brought me home. She happily announced I was the child's father, but my father-in-law and stepmother saw my plain clothes and looked down on me completely. Her father scolded her for bringing a stranger home and shaming the family. Watching her suffer such humiliation, I finally understood how bitter her life had been. At this time, my mother had learned the truth. She immediately ordered the betrothal gifts to be prepared, with a grand procession to welcome my wife and child to the palace. But my father-in-law, unaware, was busy entertaining 2 powerful sons-in-law. He ignored me completely. My wife was still crouching in the corner eating with our son out of habit. At that moment, my anger was about to explode. I questioned my father-in-law, why he treated my wife and child like this. But he completely ignored me, even tried to kick me out, then arrogantly said his 2 daughters had married into powerful families, and I had nothing, not even worthy to step into his home. Little did he know, my mother was